What's up, y'all? This is Jules Jessie coming to you with another episode of Clapback Culture alongside my co host, Mr. Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald. Hey, Mike, how you
Hey,
doing?
what's up, Julia?
I'm good, man. I'm just, happy to be here. I cannot believe it's Thursday already. It feels
I'm,
like I was just in Seattle. Like, I probably should have stayed a little longer to just do one more day in studio, but I
that's what I said.
yeah, I didn't, you know what? It I can't even lie. I'm so glad to be home. I'm back into my own space. So I had a good time though, and I cannot wait to see the pictures. You guys, I did such a bomb photo shoot with Jake. He's such a good photographer, so I cannot wait to see that. Me and the Queens, me and Mike. So cannot wait to see some of that photography come to life. But we're back another Thursday with a lot of hot topics. So we might as well get right into those updates. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Okay, so you guys, Ahmaud Arbery, we talked about this on Thursday. We told you that there was going to be a trial, and now we have a conviction. And so Ahmaud Arbery's killers were found guilty on all three counts in the federal hate crime trial. A jury found all three men guilty in the 2020 murder trial of Ahmaud Arbery. But these additional charges are now just for the federal hate crime trial. Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and their neighbor, Roddy Bryan, were guilty of interference of rights, a federal hate crime, and attempted kidnapping. So this is real crazy. The three men could now face an additional life sentence in addition to the one that they already have. Because last week we talked about like what would be the difference. So now we're talking about an additional life sentence, and this is really good. So another win. I mean, I can't believe it.
Yeah, and shout out to the judge for not allowing them to sign that plea deal.
Yeah.
Take that to trial, play it out, and not allowing them to choose the federal facility where they'll serve their time. They're going to be in the state pen. So it all played out well. I mean, Ahmad is still dead, but at least the family got justice. And for that, it's a victory.
I mean, I think this is important because what it demonstrates is that they were racially motivated, right?
Yes.
And that this was a hate crime and there was animosity when they found and they killed Ahmaud. Some of the things that they used were social media, right? And so they went through, for example, Travis McMichael's Facebook, and a post, for an example, it says, there's a video that appeared to show a group of primarily Black teenagers beating a white teen. Well, Travis McMichael commented on the video and said, "I say shoot them all," and referred to the group as monkeys. So I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm not pulling up and saying any racial slurs or any. I'm just like, I kind of stay away from like even being too politicized on social media, but this stuff right here will come back to haunt you, and it absolutely did. So I mean, you live and die by, the sword that you slay. So this is, I mean,
And it
this
sends a message. It definitely sends a message. Like if you put that evidence out there and then you go and act, all that can come back and haunt you. So, hopefully that sets the precedent for folks that feel like this in the future.
Well, and I think it's also important to note, like when we think about this trial, like if Ahmaud Arbery were white or just even not Black, perhaps they would not have seen him as a threat. And
Right.
it's terrible to see that a Black man is just a threat based on the color of his skin. And so this proved that they looked at him and felt like he was a suspect in their neighborhood when he was just going for a run. And so very happy to see this conviction. But not so happy about the Kim Potter conviction, you guys. We told you on Thursday that last Thursday that she would be going to court on February the 18th. She absolutely did. And y'all, so let me give you a little background. So again, for all of our new viewers and those who just have not been keeping up with contemporary cultural issues, Kim Potter is the former police officer who allegedly accidentally murdered Dante Wright, the 20-year-old driver. He was pulled over during a traffic stop, and she was charged and she was sentenced. She was convicted of manslaughter. The guidelines, the sentencing guidelines that she had were between 6.2 and 8.5 years. She got 2 years. So now let's do the math, Mike. What that means is that she'll likely only do 14 months. Okay. That means that she will be eligible for release in April 2023. That's crazy. And the judge.
Don't get me started on the judge.
The judge. Do you want me to read the statement? Let's read it.
Do.
Here is what the judge said, you guys. The judge says, and I'm sorry, I'm going to refer to my notes because I want to make sure it's right. The judge said, oh, did I put in here? Yes. This is not a cop found guilty of murder for using his knee to pin down a person for 9.5 minutes as he gasped for air. So she's referencing the George Floyd case. This cop made a tragic mistake. She drew her firearm thinking it was a taser and ended up killing a young man. So this goes to show you that the judge absolutely showed so much sympathy, right, for the former officer, and just couldn't in her heart take the value of this life and even sentence her within the guidelines. I mean, she's so far out of the freaking guidelines. I mean, I don't even understand it. We do have a clip that I want to share, and it's, the relatives of Daunte Wright, the 20-year-old man who lost his life. Several of them spoke, but Daunte Wright's mother, her statement stood out. Let's take a look.
So once again, we are standing here to say that we're very disappointed in the outcome. Yes, we got a conviction, and we thank everybody for that. But again, this isn't okay. This is the problem with our justice system today. White women tears trumps.
Wow.
Trumps justice. And I thought my white women tears would be good enough because they're true and genuine. But when they're coerced, coached, and taught by the defense attorney, I guess we didn't have a win in this at all. Thank you.
I mean, it's crazy too, because in the mugshot photo, Kim Potter's smiling, but then on the stand we get the phony tears. But the tears that really sent me over the edge, honestly, came from the judge. Like, you read the judge's statement, but just for context, for those who didn't see, the judge cried for Kim Potter. Yeah. And that was just the wildest thing to me. It's like she killed somebody, and the tears were for the murderer and not for the one who was murdered. And I mean, it just, none of it just lines up. I mean, I guess, we saw that they backed off on asking for the longer sentence, and they kind of came back, the prosecutors, and asked for just the standard sentencing. And,
right.
It was kind of like, okay, that makes sense. They just want to go for what will be quote unquote fair. But then the judge goes way below that. And I don't know. This was a tough one for me.
I mean, me personally, I'm interested to see how I want to see the other convictions, right? I want to see how this judge sentences people just in her courtroom, just in general, because it's such a blanket statement to even compare this to the George Floyd incident, because as a judge, I don't think you should necessarily be bringing that particular case into this. But if you should, why is Daunte Wright's life any less than George Floyd's? And here is why, right? Number one, Harry Jefferson just put a comment out there. If we can put it back up, about Kim Potter being an expert between the taser, expert weapons expert, and her, how in the heat of the moment are you grabbing for your taser, but really you grab for your gun? And here is why. And this is my rationale. This is my thinking. So Mike told you guys last week, Dante Wright was pulled over initially because he had his turn signal on and was turning in the opposite direction. As the police officers were following him, Kim Potter and another officer who she was training, they noticed that he had an air freshener hanging in his mirror, which is also illegal in the state of Minnesota. After following him more, they found that he had expired tags. So they pull over, they initiate the stop, and then you guys, they obviously run his name. Okay, so they ran his name, and they determined through the police database that a judge had recently issued a warrant for his arrest because he had missed a court date on charges that he had illegally possessed a gun and ran away from police officers. So now you tell me, if you are pulling over a car, a suspect who has a warrant out for his arrest for possibly possessing an illegal firearm, are you going in, like they say, going into the fight, like don't go with a knife to a gunfight. No, you're going into a gunfight with a gun. You're strapped. So my whole point is, you pulled this young man over. Yes, Dante Wright, he shook off officers. He got back in the car. He was trying to get away. But it's just unreal to me to think that former Officer Potter would be pulling a taser in the moment that she knew that he could likely be in possession of a firearm. So that to me just doesn't, this narrative of, former Officer Potter having this, oh, I'm going to use my taser. No, you weren't.
No,
you weren't.
No. And what really drives the nail in even more for me is the fact that her defense has already set the stage for the rest of her life. Like she's going to do these 14 months. She's going to come back and she's going to get that job working with companies that produce tasers to make them feel less like guns. Like that was part of the reason why they were asking for probation only, was so that she could have the opportunity to do stuff like that. And it just is sickening that she did her job poorly, killed the person.
Yep.
And on the back end, she's going to get a promotion. She's going to have a job making even more than what she made as a police officer. And she still gets to be in public safety, even as a person that murdered someone. So it's terrible. It's terrible on any way you look at this. It's horrible.
14 months, y'all. All right. Well, someone else who got a crappy sentence is a young lady, a 13-year-old Black girl named Nia Wims. You guys, this is a Florida teen who spent 11 days in a juvenile detention facility after a classmate pretended to be the bullied teen on Instagram and threatened to blow up the school and kill people. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, the family of the young girl who was falsely accused and detained decided to file a lawsuit, not only against the school, but it also names Instagram and its parent company, Meta. The lawsuit claims that the 7th grader had been bullied for months, y'all, and requested a meeting with the school, but the school never made the meeting happen. Nia's mom decided to move her out of the school district. Okay, so now you have Nia, she's in a whole new school district, and she gets a knock on her door. And the she gets a knock at her door, and she is charged with threatening to blow up the school and kill people. So here's how it happened. The ex-classmate, who's identified in the lawsuit as MS, sent the threats to herself and a teacher who reported the matter to school officials and then law enforcement, leading the facility to be placed on a limited lockdown. So this is like crazy. So not only was this girl bullying her, she was pretending to be her on Instagram. And then she went as far as like activating these threats, talking about she was going to blow up the school and kill people. And then she doubled down on the lie, sent it to not only herself, to her teacher, but she doubled down on it when the police came and asked her, and she implicated Nia, who was arrested on November the 19th, despite saying that she did not do this, you guys. And so there's a lot of conflict and conflicting stories about the initial investigations. Police officers are saying that the family did not cooperate with the probe until December And then, the mom of Nia, she's saying that she provided investigators with her daughter's iPad initially and was like, listen, here's her iPad. Open up her Instagram. You can see for yourself. We know about IP addresses, you guys. And so it is crazy to me that they picked her up and they took her, this young girl, to a juvenile detention center, and that baby girl sat there for 11 days. So now the family said they gave investigators the iPad, right? And that they use, and then that Nia says, yeah, I did talk to my former classmate MS, but I didn't say anything like that. So Mike Davis, what's going on here? Like, this is, how do you protect your kids? I mean,
it'll be a lawsuit jumping off in a major
one. Be a damn law student.
Police, are the police ever going to do their jobs properly? I just really don't understand this. I mean, you just said it yourself. The IP address, they didn't check that. I mean, why are they this fast to arrest kids? Why are they this fast to arrest young Black kids? When that white kid that shot that school up in Michigan was drawing all those disturbing pictures with people bleeding and being murdered and all that stuff,
they let your boy stay at school.
But this Black girl that was getting framed, obviously, I mean, it was a Finsta. It wasn't even a real Instagram account. Did they not notice that account didn't have no friends? That account didn't have no followers. It probably didn't have no content. They didn't look at any of that. Nah, just arrest the Black kid as fast as you possibly can. I mean, it's horrible police work. I hope they sue. But more than that, man, I hope that this little girl isn't traumatized because she literally got arrested and spent 11 days in juvie for literally no reason. I mean, we spend our whole lives with our parents telling us to just tell the truth and you'll be okay. This little girl told the truth and went to jail. It's just wild.
I also don't believe that a mother would watch her child be picked up and taken to a detention center without saying, like, hold up. Yeah. Girl, give me your phone. Give me the iPad. Come here and pull this up. I mean, why would it take 11 days to confirm an IP address? You can do that in 24 hours. Easily. Or less. So I don't believe this narrative that the police officers are saying that the mother was not complying until December. Don't believe that. In addition to, they're saying that they tracked the IP address. They found out and discovered that it was the 12-year-old girl, the bully, the classmate who was bullying her. And now that student is accused by police of maliciously impersonating Wims by making the social media account in her name and using her information to frame her. MS was arrested and charged with several offenses, including falsifying a police report. So listen, y'all, these are 12 and 13-year-old babies. What is going on? I have a good girlfriend and her daughter is about this age. And she, tells me about how it's just so different than when we were in middle school and the level of bullying and how that's just such a buzzword. But social media is taking this stuff all the way over to the top. And so parents, check your kids' devices, grab their phone. One of my other homegirls, she says she takes their phones and looks at them and just phone check, homie. Until you are over the age of 18 and out my house, I am phone checking you. There is no privacy in my house. So if you have a 12-year-old who's willing to do this, that's crazy that they would go this far to bully someone, to bully a student and put them in harm's way, all the way to the point where it's like they're in huge trouble at 12 years old. So I pity both of the kids that are in this situation. And I do feel like school officials needed to have the conversation with those girls immediately, especially when the mother wanted to have the conversation. And I'll also say this, Mike, it's a tragedy when you have parents that ask for these meetings and then but the school doesn't enforce that. And so another thing is like having the conversation just parent to parent. Guess what? I'm going to tell you something. If my kid was being bullied at school, I'm stepping to that parent. If the school ain't going to let me do it, guess what? I'm knocking on your door. What's up? Because what's not going to happen is you're not going to keep bullying my baby girl. And come here, because both of you girls need to talk about what is going on. We're going to sit at this table and figure it out. These kids are killing themselves over it. They're killing each other over it. It's too much. It's way too much.
It's the schools in a lot of cases as well. And I hate to say it, but it's true, man, especially when we're talking about young Black girls, man, the school don't believe them, or they don't listen to them. Like when I saw this story originally too, it made me think of my niece. My niece recently got in a fight at school behind some stuff that she had reported to multiple. She had reported it to teachers. She had reported it to school security. She had went through all of these steps, and all of the adults did absolutely nothing. And then the kids end up fighting, and now they want to suspend the kids. And it's like, the kids, like you were told, the administration was told, but you don't want to listen when the young Black girls is talking to you. And when I look at this case, and it got to the point where now we got little babies going to jail, it's like somebody needed to step in. And I think your point on social media is a correct one. And, you know, I have kids. I got 2 daughters. I don't really know what the answer is behind like social media and kids. I mean, to be honest, not to age myself, but when I was in middle school, we didn't have social media yet. Like I feel like MySpace dropped when I was in high school. So like, we just got to talk to our kids, man. There has to be more communication between adults and kids. Like that's the only way that I feel you could really approach it. And it takes a community to raise a kid, because sometimes the kid might not talk to their parents, but they'll talk to that uncle. They'll talk to that aunt. They'll talk to that cousin. So we need responsible adults in our kids' lives so they have multiple places where they can go. But, you know, removing social media also doesn't work. I have an older niece where my sister tried to do that, and all it really did was make her sneak. And now she's using it with no adult oversight because she's sneaking. So it's like you have to have that communication with your kids. You have to track it. And I think Mama Walden is saying that too, man. It's like,
they're suing the school, but you're right. They should sue that parent as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. They absolutely should. Harry Jeff, if my 14-year-old daughter ever come home crying from being bullied, I'm putting on a wig and we both going to fight. There was a viral clip, you guys, unrelated to this particular story, but kind of alongside of this. A father stepped to another father and was like, listen, your daughter is bullying my daughter, and she's in the car. And he was talking to the girl, was like, listen, you keep bullying my daughter. Matter of fact, take your coat off. Come here, Angel. And he was like, Angel, she gonna beat your ass. Take your coat off right now. And then the girl was like, I don't want to fight. And she was like, all right. He was like, all right, bet then leave my daughter alone. Let me tell you something. We need to get back to the days when you shoot a fair one. Okay.
That don't exist.
They don't shoot fair ones no more. Guess what? We used to fight at school. You get suspended, they get suspended. We do it off campus, whatever. You hope somebody don't fight out. You shoot the fair one, and then that's it. And guess what? You could be friends again. But I think you bring up a really, really good point. We also have lost mentors.
Yeah.
We've lost mentors. We've lost the funding to support mentorship. Yes. These girls honestly should be in the same groups, right?
Yes.
Like, why they not on what are you doing with your time?
Yeah.
When I was 12, 13, and 14, my mother had me in so many programs. I never had no idle time.
Same here. And we had mentors too, though. I went to African American Academy. I remember this, man, when people at my school was beefing, we played basketball. I promise you, Mr. Rashid, he would come in and he would, who got conflict? Okay, pick your teams. And we would go solve it on the basketball court. We need people like that in our communities, man, people that can actually talk to the kids and have that influence.
Yeah, it's a lot of ignorant parents out here too, though. Like parents that want to fight each other. I'm not doing that. Like no. I'm not off that. I don't think violence is the way to. We should not be teaching our kids violence to be able to communicate with each other and resolve conflict. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, if you can't resolve it with a bully, you definitely need to be able to shoot the fair one. Like if it gets to that point, and you should encourage that. That's healthy, because at the end of the day, like if we can't come to a mutual understanding, maybe I do need to beat your ass, because what happened is we spend 11 days in jail.
Yeah, we got to be able to talk, man. There should be some level of dialogue that can happen, man, between parents, students, and the school, man. The schools should be a community, and I think that's my disconnect, because in my schooling, we did have that community, and I don't see that anymore.
I don't either. And another thing too, I think with social media and texting, like kids just don't know how to communicate anyway. We were forced to talk to each other, and we played outside. So it wasn't like we got to just live in this, you know, this world,
No.
this metaverse.
They're not mature anymore either, though. Because I was thinking about that too, man. When I was in middle school, we was going to South Center, meeting up at Sam Goody. You had to make that call, then catch the bus, physically meet up, and then go talk to people. These kids are doing it all right here.
It's important, and that's how you resolve conflict. Like you had to keep showing up. You're in the same groups with each other. You're more motivated to resolve things anyway because you learn how to talk it out. Now it's like they talk in emojis. They barely, like, I don't understand anything these kids are saying nowadays. So it's unfortunate that this situation happened and now there's a whole lawsuit. But both of these girls have been traumatized by this.
Yes.
So the judge, you know, she dropped the charges on Nia Wims. But
she still went to juvie. She still did those 11 days away from her family. That's unacceptable.
Well, listen, it's unacceptable. Meta has not responded to the lawsuit and allegedly failed to, and allegedly they're being involved in this lawsuit because allegedly they failed to promptly provide or cooperate with the investigating officers. But I really don't think you needed Instagram to comply with finding an IP address. You should have pushed the mother a little bit harder if you could not get her to comply. So I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. All right, you guys, back to the state of Texas. Your boy, Governor Abbott, you guys, is going crazy.
I almost forgot about this one.
He is calling on licensed professionals and members of the general public, that's crazy, to report parents of transgender minors to state authorities if it appears that minors are receiving gender-affirming medical care. Abbott's letter follows an opinion that was released on Monday by the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, which stated that allowing minors to receive transition care such as puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgery should be considered child abuse under the state law. Advocates are saying, listen, this is politically motivated. Paxton and Abbott are both up for the Republican primary election, you guys, on March 1st. And now all of this is just coming out. So we know that this is to get those votes. But by law, this can't happen. So it's just something they're throwing out there. They're generating a buzz. This is just straight, like, penetrating your base. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And then the thought of a licensed professional or members of the general public need to go out there and report parents helping their kids get hormone therapy. It's ridiculous. I mean, who am I, the general public, to say what somebody should be doing with their kids? Like, that's not none of my business. Mike, is it your business?
It's not my business. And thank you for bringing up the point that the primary out there in Florida is in a week. So March 1st. So, of course, they're going to put this out right now. Also, their attorney general, let me look at Ken Paxton. He knows that the law failed last year. Like, they actually did try to make this a law. It failed. He knows that. He's blowing smoke. The idea of rallying up private citizens, that's just another dog whistle that they do. If y'all remember when they were doing this wild abortion stuff, they tried the same thing, like having private citizens snitch on other citizens. I think that what's wild to me, though, is when they're talking about critical race theory, it's like the parents' right. The parents have the right to the education. You can't tell parents what to do with their kids. If parents don't want their kids to learn about the history of the United States of America, then their kids should not have to learn. But when it comes to your kids' gender rights, all of a sudden it's no longer in the parents' hands. It's just it's the hypocrisy for me. It's like it's so blatant. Like, in some cases, then, the parents have all the choice in the world. But if it doesn't go with the Republican agenda, then we're going to arrest the parents, because that's literally what he's calling for. Like, he's talking about criminal charges on the parents. Whether you agree with kids transitioning or not, your choice lives in your household. Your choice doesn't live in anyone else's household. And it's just ridiculous that he would come out and say this and rile the public. Like, this is just, it's insane that he'd do this.
It's exhausting.
It is.
It's just exhausting. Like, there's so much going on in the world, and it's just like the idea, like, this is honestly why I just get so exhausted with election season. It's just, they'll say anything, they'll throw out anything. It's just like, let's put this out here, and it's like, yeah, I'm going for that person because they feel this way. It's just so politically motivated. Advocates are calling this like a sham. Don't believe it. Don't worry about it. There's absolutely no claims that they'll even be able to enforce this with the Department of Family and Protective Services. So who are you going to call? Nobody, because they're not going to take this claim seriously. You can't call this child abuse. This is not the definition of child abuse just because you write a letter and release it to the public. That doesn't make it law. That doesn't make it real, right? That just means you're using your platform to say things that don't even make sense, that are not legal. And to Mike's point, that did not pass, right? Like, this legislation went nowhere. In fact, federal judges in states that did pass a law similar to this trumped it. No pun intended, but they trumped it and was like, yeah, nah, get that up out of here. So this isn't real. And I think any parent that loves and supports their child and whatever they want to do, you know, there's a lot of pediatricians that have shown that there's evidence-based support for, you know, gender affirming therapy services, surgeries, hormone therapies. Why would anybody want to just be like, oh yeah, I just want to change my gender? Like, you don't wake up and want to like have to take on that plight. Like, it's very difficult. People that are transgender have a very difficult journey because society does not accept them like that. So I don't think a young child is going to just wake up and be like, yeah, I want to be a boy or I want to be a girl. So a parent is already going through a lot. The last thing they want to do is have somebody condemn them and call Child Protective Services on them. So this is crazy. There is a good clapback from Admiral Rachel Levine. You guys, you know, she serves as the 17th Assistant Secretary for Health for the U.S. Department of Health Services. You know, she was nominated by President Joe Biden in 2021 and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. She's also the first openly transgender to hold this position in office, and she's the highest ranking transgender federal official in the country. She's a bad bee. Okay, let me tell you that. She also is very well educated. She's a 4-star admiral. Like, she's the fill in the blank. Anyway, her clapback on Twitter 11 hours ago was this. She says, gender affirming care for transgender youth is essential and can be life-saving. These actions perpetuate the spirit of intolerance and discrimination against transgender youth. It is inconsolable that evidence-based care is being politicized. There you have it, from the horse's mouth, okay? This is a person who has experienced this. She knows all too well the journey. And, you know, she's also a leading pediatrician. She got all the credentials behind her, and she's living proof that this is something that she's gone through. So, I mean, take it from, if you ain't gonna take it from nobody, you should take it from her.
You should. But Abbott's probably about to win this election, and it's why
he's he's not about to. He's absolutely going to win the election. People love him.
Because of stuff like this. It's so meaningless, though.
Like, they ain't going nowhere.
It means nothing. His letter means nothing. Nothing. It was just a way to spread hate fast. And, you know.
It's too much. All right, y'all. Well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some new things on the horizon with Colin Kaepernick. You're watching Clapback. Stay tuned.
Everybody now. Everybody do your thing.
I'm always here in my studio working from Monday to Saturday.
So art is full time for you.
Full time, yes, full time.
Sweet Belizean girl. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, sweet Belizean girl. Oh, come on, come on, come on.
Want to pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to the doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back. Glad to have you here watching Clapback Culture. Doing it for the culture, like always, is Colin Kaepernick, y'all. And he is launching a program for second autopsies in police-related deaths. So, you know, he has this racial justice organization that launched this program to provide free follow-up autopsies on victims of police violence. His organization called Know Your Rights Camp announced the autopsy initiative on Wednesday, and it will allow families to seek extra options if one of their relatives is killed by law enforcement. So this is cool. And this is something that, you know, we've seen in cases like George Floyd, where they go and get an independent autopsy and different results are made. What he said, and this makes so much sense in literally everything that we've talked about today, is he says, we know that the prison industrial complex, which includes police and policing, strives to protect and serves its interests at all costs. We know that. He says that the autopsy initiative is one important step towards ensuring that family members have access to accurate and forensically verifiable information about the cause of death of their loved one in their time of need. So shout out to Colin Kaepernick for this. It's a great initiative.
No, this is huge. You know, we hear about the George Floyds. We hear about the Dante Rice. I don't have to go down the list. And a lot of times those high profile cases, you know, they'll get lawyers that'll join those cases pro bono just because they're so high profile. What's so dope about what Colin Kaepernick and his organization is doing right here is it could be anybody. You don't have to be high profile. It doesn't matter. So for folks who have a family member that's killed by law enforcement, if you don't have that pro bono lawyer that can help you with these costs, maybe you're poor, you can't afford that second autopsy, you could come to their organization and they're going to handle that for you. It doesn't even have to be a blood relative. It could be a friend. Just reach out and they got your back. And you're absolutely right. This could be a game changer. You need that independent autopsy. They're also partnering with federally certified forensic pathologists. So he already has a team of them, like he's building this network and they're ready. So, man, shout out to Colin Kaepernick, man. People throw a lot of stones at Cap, but he just does the work. I mean, ever since he took that knee, he's been backing it up with the work. He ain't gonna give white folks the interviews and the sound bites that they tried to get from him, but he's in the streets, boots on the ground doing the work. So big ups to Cap.
There it is. So this is a win. I can't wait for people to. All right, y'all. Well, that's all the fun stuff. There's some crazy stuff happening in the world, and it is saturating our news cycle. And so instead of going to a break, I think we just jump right into the drama that Russia has jumped out here and initiated a special military operation. Vladimir Putin announced that in a televised speech to his country and everybody else. We all woke up to it. And it's getting out of control. And I think we have a clip of the airport blowed up.
Guys, good. Звідки вони хуярять, блядь? Звідки?
Y'all, so President Zelensky of Ukraine has initiated martial law, as I'm sure you guys have been watching and tracking this. Again, it's all over social media, all over the news cycle. And he's calling for citizens to get out there and fight. Like he's saying it's all hands on deck. We also see reports coming in that citizens of Ukraine are, hiding out in metro stations, train stations in order to kind of get away from the bombing, but they're being impacted from all areas of their country. Russia has been preparing for this invasion for a long time, and they've been increasing their military grip around Ukraine since last year by, adding more soldiers and adding more artillery. So I had to think, like, what is really going on? I was trying to do my research to figure out, like, how did we get here? I hope there's somebody way smarter than me in the comments to tell me, like, what is going on. But here's a little history lesson. So why are we here? After the collapse of the Soviet Union, NATO pushed eastward, bringing in most of Eastern Europe, you guys, okay, and Eastern European nations. And NATO declared its intention to offer Ukraine membership into NATO, crossing the line for Russia. And so Russia is basically looking at this as a threat, that the prospect of Ukraine joining membership with NATO and the Western military alliance, they're seeing that as a threat, and they ain't taking it lightly. And Putin is saying, like, yeah, and matter of fact, Ukraine is actually a part of Russia. So stop what you're doing. So that's the ghetto version of what I could put together. But now let's talk about, what does this mean for the United States, right? And so initially, we're not seeing too much. It seems like President Biden is kind of saying, this is not going to go unaddressed. We're definitely going to roll out these sanctions. But that's also going to mean that, the implications of Ukraine in this invasion is that we're going to see an additional rise in gas prices. We've seen that the stock market crashed today. And financial experts are saying, just hold tight, don't do anything, don't sell anything off, just take a deep breath. Let's just see how this goes. And we're also going to see a rise in food costs, right? And so that's probably the initial effects that we're going to see. But I'm interested to see what is going to happen with NATO, who is saying that they're getting it going. And if NATO jumps out there, because the United States is a part of that membership, Vladimir Putin is saying anybody who tries to come through and stop this, it's going to be something that never happened in the history of your country. So he's talking about coming through with a major clapback. The last thing I want to see is a nuclear war. People, like, can somebody break out the wine, the Jack Daniels? Like, I feel like people are just getting too serious. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's getting real over there. It's getting real over there, man. And look, man, this ain't even Mike Davis's lane. I ain't trying to dive in and drizzle, but yo, it's going down though, man. I seen the videos, man. There's a black dude on Twitter. I forgot his name, but he's literally in Ukraine. He's walking around with a camera. It's wild. They're dropping bombs over there, man. So I hope they're safe. But man, look, man, it's between Russia and Ukraine. Gas prices was already insane.
Yes.
Y'all might want to think about e-vehicles at some point these days.
Oh God.
I'm just saying, man. But look,
the guy who drives the Tesla.
I'm just saying, man. Look, man, stop dropping bombs on Africa, United States. That's what I'm worried about, man. Ukraine and Russia, that sound like white folks fighting against white folks to me. Also, my sources is telling me, buy stocks, buy them now, buy low, because when it recovers, you're gonna be all right, man. But yo, that's all I got. Take me, man. Take it off me, Cuddy. Go back to the Y shot, man. Go back to Julia. She broke that down. We're gonna.
I love that this is the ghetto black version. I'm telling you, this is every like millennial black person's conversation about this. Like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but guess what? Ain't nobody better come up in here with nothing. But Leon, you are right. President Biden did talk about cyber attacks, and we actually know that cyber attacks are more nuclear than nuclears.
And we know Russia is about that cyber attack life. They've done it before.
and honestly, like, I don't think the United States is their cyber attacks. They're in what is it called?
Cybersecurity.
Their cyber intelligence is not as advanced. So honestly, I think we don't have a dog in this fight, if I'm totally honest. But I don't know. Honestly, I just hope don't nothing happen. But I do feel absolutely sad for everybody in Ukraine. Like, can you imagine going through this right now? Like a whole, like you're living through a war. 2022. It's just like, oh, we're gonna pop off in a war and we're gonna blow stuff up.
Yeah, man. Well, bombs is hitting airports and apartment buildings, man. That's wild, man. Like that's
like you wake up and you're like, oh, I gotta be a refugee because I gotta get up out of here.
Yeah, man.
That's a lot. Like you have to flee. Imagine if like no, I don't think we really grasp that. Like imagine you're sitting at home and then all of a sudden it's like these people who you have zero control as a citizen, right?
Right.
These elected officials are coming in and they're like, yeah, matter of fact, we're about to come over and take over the United States. What do? Like, do I get to just drive into Canada and be like, please, like, let me in? Is that how it happens? Like, Mexico.
That's what's so wild, though. It's like when you look at the map, I mean, there's countries that are like surrounded by countries. You know what I'm saying? Like we got Canada on top of us. We got Mexico below us. But it's not like we're boxed in like that, you know, like if you're in Ukraine to get out, like you got to cross people's borders. Are they even going to let you in? I don't know. I'm not the expert, but it's just, it seems like a horrible, horrible place to be in.
Anyway, I felt like we should talk about it.
Oh, we had to. That's dominating.
We gotta let the smart people do what they do. I'm just gonna sit back and watch it on the TV and be
nah, we're about to clip you. We're about to clip your break because you got the breakdown that we needed. You said it in a way that if you would have said that to me before the show, I would have been able to talk more when we got here.
Okay, point noted. Well, look, y'all, we are out of time tonight.